The whole world is now seeing football as business, only for Ghana that is not seeing it, seeing the value. When was the last time a player was bought in Ghana for $5 million? $5 million on the international scene is the cheapest, the lowest league even in England can buy. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome back to my channel. This is Daily Rant Ghana. Today we're going to talk about football. Yes, the Black Stars of Ghana just recently played a friendly match against Brazil where we lost by 3-0. People say that Ghana is the Brazil of Africa. Well, after the Brazil of Africa met the real Brazil, they were taken to the cleaners. We were whitewashed. 3-0. And I have plenty to say, okay? So what I have to say has nothing to do about the results. It has everything to do with Ghana football and the declining nature of Ghana football and why we are retrogressing. And if we do not resolve the issues, a certain phenomena that is gradually taking over will become the norm. Now, let me open your eye to this phenomenon. So my name is Emmanuel. This has been the Daily Rant Ghana. So initially, when you see a group of Ghanaians, I mean, starting from the early 60s and all that, when you saw the Ghana national team play, you realize that these are people with passion for the nation. These are people who are talented, all right? They're really, really talented and they want to fight and die for the nation. But then so we start winning cups. You know, the last time we win the African Cup of Nations was in 1985, and that was it. And ever since then, we've been struggling to win the next trophy for the Black Stars of Ghana. Now, something phenomenal is happening here. So if you look into the 2006 World Cup team, you realize that the players that represented Ghana, over 95% of them were born and bred and raised in Ghana. All right, so we're talking about the Steve Nappiers, we're talking about the Michael Leeson, the Asamoah, the Lai Kingston, and the rest. All right. Now, there were a certain element of foreign-based players. I mean, if I say foreign-based players who were born and raised in another country, but they actually have Ghanaian origin. So players like Otto Addo and Hansen Edu Sape, they were born in Germany, but you know they really had a passion they have a good connection with Ghana and they represented Ghana. Now, fast forward to now, you realize that the Black Stars of Ghana had qualified for African Cup of Nations. They've qualified for the World Cup and they are preparing for World Cup. And what you see is that the president of the Ghana Football Association has gone to convince players from abroad who were based abroad. They were born and raised there. They're used to the culture of that country. And then the president of the Ghana Football Association has to go on a convincing spree to convince these players to come and represent Ghana. Now, on the general surface of it, it is not a bad thing, all right? But it is creating a sense of culture which will, in the long term, if it is not well checked, will destroy Ghana football. Why am I saying this? So players like Tariq Lamptey, we have Inaki Williams, we have other players in Germany, and they are not even popular. And these players has been invited. They were convinced to join us. They were very good players, actually, top quality players, which to me I think they will help the Black Stars of Ghana in the upcoming World Cup. The question is, why is it that we couldn't find such quality players who were raised and trained in Ghana? Now, I'm not trying to be a bigot here and say that, well, those who has been raised and born outside should not be considered for the call-up in the Black Stars. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. Why is it that Ghana as a nation cannot be self-reliant. So there's something that we're doing politically. Everything that we need in Ghana is supposed to be imported. The only thing that we looked inside, to get from Ghana, which is originally Ghanaian and has no foreign hand in, was football. So football is a culture of Ghana that a lot of people are passionate about. However, because of this new trend, we are now looking at bringing foreign-bred players to replace Ghanaians. And the reason why this is dangerous is that it will harm local sports development. Now, over the years, I have been advocating for quality sport investment, even from the government. Okay, you look at Ghana sport right now and it's an eyesore. Like, you can't even watch the match on television. The pitches are terrible. They are in a very terrible place. And teams that claim to be playing Premier League clubs, Premier League football in Ghana, has dilapidated pitches, improper training grounds, extremely poor. I just can't wrap my head around it. And then we want to compete. The government has done little to nothing when it comes to investing in football, creating great pitches, helping teams finance players. Now, most of our players have to go abroad after just one season of shining in the local league. They go as low as Ethiopia, Kodoko and Hearts, which is the biggest traditional teams in Ghana, cannot afford to compete with teams in Guinea and in Ethiopia. It's horrible that Ghana as a nation of football talent cannot help maintain its talent, and that teams from Ethiopia, team from Guinea, team from Congo are taking the finest of our players just by paying them as low as $3,000, which means that Kotoko and Hearts cannot match $3,000. How are we then going to produce the next crop of Black Stars players? Who is going to replace Dede Ayew in the next 10 years? Who is going to replace the likes of Inaki Williams, the likes of Thomas Partey? Who is going to replace all these wonderful, talented players in the next 10 years when they are unable to play? What strategic plan do we have to develop a crop of players that we have? Or what is the national plan from graduating players from under 17 to under 20 to under 23 to the national team? What is the national plan? There's nothing like this. And I've always said, we always call ourselves the Brazil of Africa. Well, we are not doing anything that Brazil is doing. Brazil's GDP has a chunk of it coming from football. Brazil export football as part of natural resources. Why are we not exporting players? Teams are buying players from Ghana for as little as $50,000 Ghana cedi, $50,000, $200,000, $300,000 maximum. Why? I mean, the whole world is now seeing football as business. Only for Ghana that is not seeing the value. When was the last time a player was bought in Ghana for $5 million? $5 million on the international scene is the cheapest, the lowest league even in England can buy. Why? And this phenomena has started. What happens is that after the Europeans have selected the best of African players based in Europe, they will put a lot of resources, they will put a lot of investment into making them quality standard, and then they will take the best out of these, and then they reject. We go and beg them to come and represent Ghana. Are we not ashamed? It boggles my mind. Look, we better resolve this as soon as possible before football start falling apart. Other sports like athletics and all those are falling apart already. We know, because our government are so fixated on other stupid things rather than football, where one footballer has the propensity to change the lives of a lot of families. Thomas Partey is being paid £200,000 a week, which means that in a year, this guy, or in a month, this guy is going to collect 800,000. Can you imagine in 10 months? That's £8 million. Assuming he repatriates 50% of it into the economy, that's a foreign exchange of 4 million from one player. Imagine we have 10 of those people. That's $40 million every year, plus other people bringing in. Do you know that we can have like $1 billion being pumped into the economy every year from football? Do we know this? Do we know that we can develop, we can position ourselves as, as Africans, we can position ourselves that, look, in the next 10 years, we want Ghana to be the next hotspot for talent development to supply the European League. We can say that, look, in the next 10 years, our scouting of players to play for the Black Stars should be in the top 6, top 5 European leagues. So that when we are scouting players, we get players from the Premier League, we get players from the French League, from the Spanish League. We should be dominated like Asian Muntari time when they were doing it. They were dominating the big leagues. Today, our players are coming from places like Cyprus, from Serbia, from all those places that are not competitive. This is not Ghana football. We are better than this. We have the talent, we have the means to do this, and it ought to be done. This is Daily Rant Ghana. My name is Emmanuel. Don't forget to subscribe and let me also know your thought. Ciao.